So the last thing I had for that first story you told, and this is supposed to be short. We've gone on probably like 35 minutes on your one story, but it's a good one. So
It is
you brought up in the beginning the concept of like how she doesn't have any male friends, right? And how most everyone was trying to just get at her, right? So she's never had a male friend that doesn't have that initially, right? What do you think? Do you think that's possible? Do you think men can have female friends where there's nothing going on between them, or there's nothing in the back of anyone's head to go on between them? Do you think that just doesn't happen realistically, and that there's always like yeah, but you're kind of like making an investment, like oh, because somewhere down the line, maybe something can happen, maybe, right? What do you,
that's so funny.
because it's a real thing in society. Like most guys, I'd say for the most part, that's what it is. It's like being friendly and everything, so that maybe one day down the line, hey, like when you're not with somebody, I'm here, right? Or
Like,
like it's
it's so funny that you brought this up because I literally wrote like one of my longest posts this morning on that very topic.
there you go. We're getting each other right in there.
So and yeah, I mean, I wasn't gonna share this, but I mean, it's so appropriate now, But yeah, I know a female friend that I reconnected with from high school, like maybe back in 2020, early 2020, and we started hanging out a lot. In the first year, we actually hung out a lot, and I was thinking to myself, maybe I'm going to end up dating her eventually. Like she seems
Yeah.
really cool, nice traits, stuff like that. But one of the things I noticed about her was she had a very close relationship with like a group of guys that has been circulated in her life for an extended period of time. And one of the guys I actually went to high school with as well, and she told me about their past. There's times where they did, fall into some type of intimacy temporarily, when she wasn't dating and stuff like that. But it was never like a long-term kind of deal. But it's interesting because this past year, she actually spent a lot of time telling me that, he was cohabitating with some lady that he was dealing with and all that kind of stuff. And, it was very interesting to hear that. But one of the things I kept asking her throughout the years, like, well, when do you think he's going to introduce you to his girlfriend? And she said, oh, well, he said, well, and it was always like some type of excuse. And, sometimes, my friend and him, they would go out to these lunches, dinners, and periodically, but he would never bring
By
his-
themselves?
Yeah. Yeah. Now you see how you're responding to that? Already there's something up, right? Right.
Seems
Right?
like it, yeah.
Yeah. And this kind of goes into, what you were saying is I told her, and I explained to her, Tim, that there's a good chance that this guy, and this is like a little over a year ago, I said, there's a good chance this guy is actually preserving you or putting you aside just in case, because, who knows what direction this is going to go. And why only deal with one woman when you can deal with two?
Yeah.
So I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to maneuver himself in your life and all that kind of stuff. And I kid you not, it wasn't until recently when she was, not at her best. I'm going to say she was a little vulnerable. And yeah, she just kind of shared that, yeah, she was entertaining the idea of kind of dealing with this guy, and they've been talking about this stuff. And in my head, I'm thinking like, but this guy cohabitated with this lady that he didn't want to deal with. He doesn't care for marriage. He doesn't want children. And those are the things you want. So to me, it's like, but it's interesting because it worked out for him. He kept her at arm's length, and now.
Yeah, James, you don't understand. She's going to change him. You're just naive. You don't get it. She's going to get everything she wants out of him.
Yeah, well, yeah, she's gonna have to
Silly.
have
You're
time.
silly. You're just. Come on, James.
Yeah, and I kid you not. Maybe you can check it out later if you want. But I wrote something, and I was very careful with my words, but I was just, and I was really going into the whole concept of, I just never accepted the idea, and I hope I don't get myself in too much trouble here saying this. But I've just never, I've never condoned or I never believed in the myth of women being smarter than men because of that one thing. Because of that one thing is just there's too many women. I'm not saying every woman, but there's far too many women that offer themselves to unqualified men. It's just too much. It's too much of that.
Yeah.
And because of that one thing, I could never get into the myth of women are smarter than men. It's just that one thing. It's not about intelligence really. It's not about women are not capable of doing jobs or not educated enough. It has nothing to do with that. It's that thing. It's that one thing that, so I don't know. For that, it's like, I mean, you don't have to jump
No.
in because I don't want to get you in hot water.
No, James, I will dive and swim in this. I live here. No, but
Watch your wife after she washes, like, you're sleeping on the couch.
No, but I was gonna say that you left yourself open for a sound bite there, just like a little clip where James said women aren't smarter than men, and it's because there's too many of them. Like you could, if you cut it off just right. I'm the one that edits these things, man. I can. No, but I was gonna say, so women aren't smarter than men. So what you're saying is men are smarter than women, right? That's the connection you're making. Please elaborate.
No, I mean, honestly, I just think we're all in the same boat, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And it's really the sinful nature that we inherited, man. That's the big thing that sabotages everything. That one thing, But but just kind of going back to what you were saying, I just basically, I see that this gentleman, and we kind of bumped heads briefly months ago, and because he said something on one of my posts, and and I kind of let him know, well, I don't know. He was saying some things that are very outside of what the Bible would teach, and so I kind of corrected him, and I think he was so uncomfortable, like he removed his comment entirely, So this is the same guy, So and I've never been like best friends with him or anything, but obviously he's doing fairly well for himself as an adult. But when it comes to like the Christian walk, I don't think that's his strength. It's not something that he's been, and I don't know where he stands with that. To be honest with you, I'm not very close with him. But from what I was told the last year, he's not walking with God. So I just thought it was interesting because you brought up a point that basically I was,
already talking about.
Yeah, man, yeah, because it was on my mind. I was even thinking about doing a YouTube video about it. Just talking about that one concept. It was just interesting. He deliberately, I believe, kept her at arm's length just to make sure that she was around. So now he's able to cash in on whatever opportunity he was.
Yeah. And I wrote a couple tweets about this earlier in the week where talking about how people always try to date and they always think they can change people, right? You save yourself a lot of heartache and a lot of time and energy if you don't go into a marriage or a relationship, a long-term relationship, thinking you can change the person, right? If you do your due diligence when you're dating somebody and when you're selecting a partner, you can kind of weed out a lot of the nonsense that'll come up later. And the same thing with starting a business with somebody or whatever you're doing, getting everything out in the open first, making sure you're on the same terms and the same, have the same, general values. Not to say that you can't, you should have someone that challenges you. You shouldn't just get someone that's like a yes man all the time. But on the same concept, there's some things like you could be polar opposites about. And maybe eventually you can erode each other or whatever, but that's just a lot of heartache to deal with and a lot of problems you're going to deal with later on. Like, say, how many kids do you want? Do you not want kids? What's your opinion on that, right? That's essential, and that, is the foundation of a relationship, right? So when you're dating somebody, you're going to want to get things out of the way pretty quickly, right? If you're doing it for the right reasons. If you're just here for hookup culture, you at least guys will say anything to get to the end goal, right?
Correct. I'm glad you said that.
Well, that's the thing too. Ladies got to be worried about that and just keep your eyes peeled, because if you're going into those realms, if you're on those Tinder dating apps and everything, that's what you're going to get, right? There are relationships that can come from that, but I think it's just more out of desperation, and that's kind of where most people are interacting these days, and it's sad, One of the things, it's that you don't have to do that, I asked some of the other people, some of my mentors on Twitter that are bigger and have bigger followings, and talked about these certain things, is what kind of traits, because I'm set, right? I'm fortunate enough, I met my wife in high school, we've been best friends for years and everything, but not everyone gets that luxury. Right? So where do you go about searching for this person of quality? And it's more so just finding what activities would that person do, right? And it's same thing with self-improvement. If there's something you want to do, something you want to be, how would the person that's already doing that be acting day to day? right? What would they be doing? Who would they be hanging out with? What groups would they be a part of? And just become that person. And then eventually you will achieve that goal. You will attract that woman. You will do whatever else you're seeking out to do. And that's what I love about all these topics is they just pour into each other, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah. I see that. I see
Yeah.
how amazing it is that, yeah, there's so many different aspects to cover, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I love, yeah, but I love your points, man. I love the points that you're bringing up, and one of the things you brought up that I think we don't talk enough about is guys that will say just about anything to kind of slither into a woman's life, and I say slither, because yeah, it's like a snake, it's like weaseling in there, and yeah, you're right. There are a lot of ladies that are vulnerable, and sometimes they don't feel like they can do better or they will do better, so they will jump into a relationship and stuff like that. And I will say that ladies typically my age, I don't know if you're familiar with this term, but in the red pill community, they will call that hitting the wall,
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, around 35 to 40, that's considered hitting the wall, and there's a lot of guys, and I'm not going to say any of their names, but they're big names that they make a living teaching this to men, that once a woman hits this time, and especially if she has children, or children from another previous relationship, she loses value.
Yeah.
SMV, sexual market value.
Oh my, that sounds disgusting. That term.
It is, and to be honest, man, we can probably have a series on what Christianity teaches versus like the red pill thing, because it's like the opposite, man.
Yeah.
It's like the yeah, but yeah, no, it's just really sad because and one thing I just want to say as well is for the lady I'm talking about that I associate with and everyone else, like I don't want women to fold and end up being in relationships with somebody that just wants to deal with them for a season and then discard them like some like something like that doesn't have value. Like I think every woman deserves like the luxury like your wife has.
Yeah.
She wakes up with a man that she knows actually loves her and values her and is willing to take the baby if she needs to rest and actually support her and help her. Like I think every woman deserves that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's something that comes natural to a woman the way God designed a woman to stay. Like wow, okay, I'm here with my baby. I have my husband. And we have our life, and even if things aren't perfect, we're doing this together. We're doing this together, and then maybe a community around them. But yeah, there's so many ladies that, sometimes they're younger, sometimes they're older, they're my age or older, and it's like they kind of think, okay, well, my best years are past, so let me just take what I can get. And it's like, no, you can make things worse for you. You can make things worse that way, So
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would, if anything, I would encourage the ladies out there, please do not offer yourself to a godless man that is making himself God and just bending the rules and creating the rules as he sees fit. And then, what typically happens with that kind of scenario is, the guy can design one set of rules on Monday, and if he decides he wants to switch them on Tuesday, he does, because to him, he's God.
Yeah.
He's God. He creates, and unfortunately there are people that are outside of Christ that will openly reject biblical Christianity that lives like that. But there's also people who profess to love God and they will live like that. And to them it's like, well, everything's relative. It's the God told me, community. It's like, oh yeah, God told me, and they just create anything that they want, So it's yeah. But I desire every woman to have that safe relationship that God actually intended for every woman,
Yeah, and it goes like they have to be on the lookout for men and not boys, right? It's two different things because one of the things some of the people on Twitter were talking about was being able to, because as a man, you have to figure a lot of stuff out on your own. You have to lead yourself before you can lead others, right? So depending on your dating pool here, it really varies, and sometimes you just have to be patient and like wait for that right person. And a good trick that I heard, because it was like a Twitter space where you can like talk to people and everything. So one of the people asked, "Hey, how do I look for good signs of this?" Right? And obviously, one of the things that they brought up was Christianity, right? If you just find some, as far as like finding things that are foundational, right? And it doesn't work for everybody because not everyone's religious or different parts of walks in their faith, but still finding things that you both are foundationally can agree upon, right, to build everything else up. And Christianity is one of the bedrocks of that. And it's will make everything last longer if you both are humble like
Standard,
that.
man. It's the standard,
It's
absolutely.
it's the path, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
if you want both have a desire to grow in Christ, that is also enough. You don't have to both be perfect, right? Just find someone that is willing to explore these things with you, and you're more than set. But what one of the guys said was a key to find out what someone's really about, because you can say you're something and not be about it, right? That's what we talked about earlier. Someone can say they're Christian, but you don't really know what that means anymore. And a way to discern through all of their own BS or through all their own propaganda about themselves, because people can make it seem like whatever, is to go to their friends, ask them, and they will reveal the truth. Like if you are living the Christ-like life, if you're living the life of someone who is respectable and a good member of society and strong and faithful in his community, that will be evident in your works, and people will see that and they will speak on that of you, right? What's the first thing people that will describe you as? Is it your faith? Is it your how many people you're sleeping with? Is it your I don't know, how tough you are, how funny you are, whatever, right? It can be a number of things, but what is the first couple three, like, right? What's the first three things people will describe you as? And that's kind of a hack to get to know someone without getting to ask them directly, because they'll formulate it to that so that you think the best of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's it's the only thing I see about that method being tricky is I know that my friends would be honest and say, okay, James is he's crazy, like they'll let the lady know, but I would be concerned for like the more sleazy people, if one person is sleazy, there's a good chance their friends might be a little sleazy, so they may,
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I would be concerned for. But I like, in a general sense, I would agree with you. I think that most people would say, like, hey, this is Tim's nature. This is James' nature. This is who they are. They do like video games. They do like superhero mythologies. They do like, they are somebody that, respect the covenant of marriage. And, so yeah, I would agree for the most part. Yeah, I think that's actually a very good method to kind of eliminate a lot of potential issues, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think the biggest thing, and this for anything, is having a clear standard of what a healthy person looks like, and of course,
Yeah.
we would go to God's word as Christians. And I'm not looking for a perfect person, but I know that God's word is the standard, and recently I actually hung out with one of my female friends, and she has a Roman Catholic background. And, she was going on about how rough, her past relationship was for the past year. And she kind of recently parted ways with this guy. And this guy was godless, whatever. And she seems more of an introvert, mild-mannered type of person. And I can tell she's open to, I'm going to say exploring a possible relationship with me. The only thing is, Roman Catholic and Christian, that's not going to work, like where I am. I don't know. I know too much about her faith that it's the opposite of what I would be aiming for.
Yeah.
So I mean, so I am, in the process of just communicating with her about the gospel and what is her understanding of those things. But it's interesting because, and I bring her up because she was with basically a guy that was godless, and he just brought her down all the time. And I think part of her admitted that she had some type of love for this guy, but part of it was also pity. Like he just had one of those sorry lives where he wasn't applying himself and things weren't happening. And it was almost like he was pulling her down, like that misery loves company type of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something I think we all have to kind of watch out for as well. That would probably be implement well with the whole, life improvement sort of thing.